Right, YouTube, back again working on a Beamer. Today's plan is to get the alternator back on, replace whatever vacuum lines I can, and then maybe try and start reassembling a few bits on the intake. We'll see how we get on. It's pretty sunny outside, so don't really want to spend hours and hours in here. There's the alternator back in. Just don't forget to put your electrical connector back on, and the power cable, wherever that is. You can just see the red bit there. To bolt that back in, or put the nut back on, hold that in place. Basically the order I did it, put the top bolt in with the pulley on it, and then you can kind of pivot off that one to get the bottom, where it is down there somewhere, the bottom bolt lined up properly, get them in, put the air duct back on there, and then your two power cable and electrical connector. So I got the power steering pump back on. Not sure if that's easier without the alternator on, but then it's not particularly hard with it on anyway, so don't know. Looks like you might have a bit more room, but you do it all from underneath anyway. Put the belt back on. There's the image from the Haynes manual if anyone forgets while they're doing it. I'll just put the plastic caps back on, stop the shit getting in there. So I bolted the power steering reservoir back in place. I'm going to try and place the fluid, the power steering fluid if I remember. Try and make sense of all those cables now. So I just replaced this little bit of hose here. It was completely split. This is the one that comes off the like the intake hoses. I think that one goes down to the fuel filter. I think it's that one. Anyway, I've used, it's always good to have a nice box of fuel line and vacuum line. Not that expensive. The bit I've used, I think it's 8mm outside diameter with a 4mm hole. Okay, so hindsight's a wonderful thing. So coming back to this after 4 months, it'd be a bit daunting trying to find what connector goes where. So what I probably should have done to start with, just chuck a bit of duct tape around it, right where it's come from. So yeah, I kind of wish I'd done that to start with, but I'm hoping the way the cables are kind of bent from 15 years of going to the same place, and a lot of them are, I don't know whether all of them are different, I expect not, but a lot of them are different, so I should be able to find where they all go again. But yeah, should have done that. This is a ideal time to do the O2 pilot mod, which heavy oil consumption, but I've just updated the hose. So this will be, if you're looking into the engine bay, this will be round the back on the right, so near the bulkhead. So one of these, there's 3 ports here. One of them normally goes to the exhaust valve. If you've got one of them, just opens a valve when you put your foot down to give you a bit more sound. So most people take the pipe off the valve at the exhaust, put a Golf T in it. I think you tend to get it called the Golf T mod. So what I've done is I completely removed the hose, and I can't remember which ones are which or anything, which port it was coming from, but basically I've got one cap there which might have already been there, so I really can't remember, so I've left that, and then one of these was to the exhaust. I feel bad I can't actually remember, but basically what I've done here, because I haven't got another one of these caps, I've just stuck a new bit of hose on, just put a Golf T in it to block it up, and then the little port in there I'm using to run once it's back on, that will run to this little valve, or this little nozzle on the CCV valve. Alright, so hopefully this is all correct, otherwise I'm going to have to take it all apart again. Definitely recommend doing this in the first place and not be a numpty like me. Anyway, so up above the intake, hopefully this one at the end should go here. The one in the middle should go plug into the top of the intake, and the one on the end to the coolant temperature sensor. And then I don't know where's best to start here. So with this harness here, I figured the tiny little one on top is the idle, and then on this side then we've got the dicer, and then the other one is the MAF. And then let's have a little look down here. So then on this bit, which is nearer the firewall, we've got this pipe curling round, or this cable, sorry. That should hopefully be the throttle body. All the other ones I haven't disconnected. I think they're going off to maybe like the crankshaft sensor, and I'm not sure what else. I haven't had to take them off. And then moving to the front side of the car side of the harness. So you've got two bigger ones nearest the engine. The top one is going round, I think that's to one of the oxygen sensors on the exhaust. And then the bottom one of those two goes off. That wasn't disconnected, I don't think. So that splits off on the side of the engine. Not sure. Some kind of sensors there. I haven't made to take them off, so I don't know what they are. Full of useful information, me. Anyway, so on the other side, at the front of the harness, so starting at the top, these little ones, this one plugs into here, which fits underneath the front of the intake, so near the oil pressure, the power steering reservoir. That clips on there, which is one of the hoses that goes to the underside of the intake. And then another hose comes off, which goes off down there. Not really sure. Something to do with fuel pressure, I believe. Fuel pressure in the tank, maybe. Can't remember what it's called. So that's the top one. And the next one down seems to be the oil pressure sensor. And then the one below that, I believe, is the, I think it's oil temperature, is it? Don't know why I'm asking you, can't answer, but the other one on the oil filter housing. And then below that, it's a bit tricky to see. And below that, the bottom one goes to the alternator. And then there's also, where are we? there's also, rather than cables coming out, there's actually a socket there at the bottom, just there. So that, I believe, goes off. It's this cable here, which goes in just there, just up by the, just below the vanos. There's probably another sensor. So hopefully that's alright. If not, I'm taking it all apart again. This thing here seems to be blanked off. Not sure what that is, I suppose. It's just cable tied to, well, just here. So it's a bit fiddly to try and get it all lined up and get all the pipes and cables in the right place. But I think I've got it. When I did it the first time, for some reason I had the power cable I thought was coming out from underneath it. But the power cable actually comes up. There's a gap. See, with like the four middle bits of the intake, it's all solid. And then two either end. See that one, there's a gap down there where some of the CCV pipes are. And this one you can get, well, there's a power cable there. So that comes up, and then it will clip into there and head off back over there. So this, which I've connected underneath the intake, I've got a new Jubilee clip on that, and there's the other hose. My mind's gone blank. Anyway, there's a little hose as well you connect on the side. So I've thread the pipe that from the CCV which connects to the oil dipstick. Put that down there where hopefully it's in the right place. You can see that this bit here, little bracket connects there. And this will slide back in. There's a little metal bit up there that slides onto. And this will bolt back on. Remember to do that throttle body one which is sitting down there. And make sure you get the other CCV valve pipe coming up in the right place, which I assume is there, because that's where it's going to fit from. Don't forget to connect your O2 pilot mod pipe. A little nozzle, and whether you can see that line on my finger. That's where the other line, that's where the end of this blue line will be going. So I put the little 16mm bolt, nut, sorry, back in, which is about there. And then the, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think, of those 11mm nuts along the top of the intake or inlet manifold. Basically I just started from the middle, tighten them up a bit, work my way out, then tighten that one up a little bit, then start from the middle again, tighten them up, work my way out, and so on until they're tight. I think the torque settings are there. Don't seem to have one for the one at the bottom unless that's 8mm nut. So that's what I've done. 10 Newton meters at the top and then the 22 at the bottom. So clip that back on. Little rubber mount you can just see there, clips over this metal bit. And what else have I done? Put the injectors back in. And then I've put the rail back on. Well, I've connected the rail to the fuel supply, which is a bit of a pain because there's not a lot of room down there. You have to push pretty hard as well for it to click back into place and secure itself. So that took a while. I was afraid I was going to break something. So I've got all the clips back on, injectors. So I put the injectors in first and put the fuel rail onto them and then put the clips on. Not sure whether it's easier that way or not, or whether it's easier to put the injectors on first and then put the whole unit back on. Who knows? I've just put the 4 little 10mm bolts in as well to hold the rail down. Still got those other 2 cable clips to go on, but wait for a bit. So I got the throttle body back on. Got that the electrical connector plugged in. Got the idle valve back on. And then stuck the plug back in for that as well. Still got my O2 pilot mod line there out of the way. Find a bit of silicone spray helps to get the idle valve back in. And this bracket's all lining up where it's supposed to be. You've got to put a nut down here somewhere and then one there. So I put the the dipstick back in. So make sure you've fished out the old seal. It's probably sitting in the housing down there. So I put a new seal on. I put a new seal just inside here as well. And I've reconnected the... Can't really see that. I've reconnected the pipe from the CCV valve. Just clipped a few wires into a couple of pipe and a couple of pipes. This little bracket that's down here, and then just bolted it back to sort of the engine mount. I just connected the harness to the 6 injectors. Nice and easy, with the clips already on, just ping into place. Just down there. So yeah, just make sure all the spark plugs are the right orientation, sort of, they're perfectly at a right angle. The connectors are to the engine, so it all slots all nicely, and you just hear it click in as you push it on. And I've just connected this one up here on top of the intake or inlet, and this connector here. Alright, so we're starting to look a bit more like an engine now, like it's supposed to. I've always got that nagging feeling that something's not right, something's going to leak, and I'll have to take all the intake off again, but that's just the pessimist in me. Just got all I've got left to put on pretty much is the 2 intake hoses and the dicer valve, and a bit of tidying up and connect the positive terminal, and then obviously have to put new coolant in, new oil. I'm going to change the power steering fluid as well, try and bleed the cooling system. Got magnetic sump plug to chuck in as well, and see if it all works properly. So what I've done so far is put the lower hose on. It's obviously easier to do the Jubilee clip on the bigger bit of the hose that goes to the throttle body, and then obviously do the little one after that goes to the idle valve. There's a little bit of plastic, a little bit of rubber on the side of this hose, which sort of slots in between a gap on the throttle body, so you line it up properly. Obviously don't go too mad tightening them up. I'll just put this bracket back on. That was just a T40, and then I've put the dicer valve back on. It's been so long, I was trying to put it on back to front to start with, but that's just me. T40 again, with a new seal on it, it doesn't want to go in that easy all the way. So I put a bit of silicone spray on it, and then just sort of alternated between the two torque bolts, doing like a turn each, and it just wound itself in. Remember to put the connector back on it. And now we've got to put the, what we're doing next, the upper hose, and then the rest of it's just things like connecting, taking this, running this back over to the connector over there, tidying it all up, putting airbox on and fluids and bleeding and all the exciting stuff. And that's when I find out something's leaking and I have to take it all apart again. So top hose is on, just connected the MAF connector on, put that F pipe thing, whatever it's called, back in. That's nice and tight. Just put a bit of oil on the seal, click that into place. The CCV pipe to the Vanos. And I've just connected the positive terminal over there, which I think is like a 19mm nut. Hopefully this is a decent sump bolt. It's just a magnetic one, try and pick up some metal particles. I did get one off eBay before, tried putting it in and it just started ripping the threads to pieces, so hopefully this is a bit better. We'll find out in a minute. So let's get this old dirty bugger out. Like that, perfect. That's 36mm if anyone's interested. Don't know what the torque settings are for that, but it's plastic in it, so you don't do it up crazy tight. So we're looking a bit more normal now. Just gotta probably get it all bled and try and get it running before I start putting this little plastic heat shield and the airbox and like the pollen filter housing, all that. This I probably should have put the power cable over the top of this one, but I can't bother to take it off. I'll probably just chuck a cable tie around this to keep it together. It's only a track car, it's not supposed to look pretty. I'll probably fasten the O2 pilot mod pipe somewhere. You can see I've gone a bit too long on that, but doesn't matter. I'll probably have to just put this oil pressure gauge sender cable. I'll have to just tidy that up somewhere a bit. So I'm gonna chuck the this new sump plug in. I'll probably get it running, maybe drive it a little bit, and then do another oil change, just in case there's any little bits in there. And I've got to just remember I've got to stick the fan back in as well and plug that back in. But that's a nice easy job. It's been a while since I put oil in there, so I thought I'd better check how much it's supposed to go in. So I got the 3 litre M54, so 6.5 litres. Thought I might as well film it, so you know, if you've got a different car you can see what the Heinz manual says. You can see the transmission and the diff as well. Power steering, 1.5 litres. There's a few figures if anyone needs them. So this is how I bleed the Beamer. So I've mixed up a load of 50-50 mix with BMW coolant and distilled water. I think I've put, looks like I've put in about 6.5 litres so far. And it's just starting to come out of the bleed hole on this pipe here. I've filled this up pretty much. So what I tend to do, fill this up, get the front as high as you can of the car, fill that up, take the bleed, or have the bleed screw already off as you're filling up, and then put the ignition on enough so that the heaters can come on. Just put the fan on 1, but put it on maximum temperature, and it should feed the coolant around the system and push the air out. And once I'm done, I use a syringe then just to bring it back down to the correct level. So at the moment I'm not as high as I want to be, because I tend to do it on my driveway. I've got a sloping driveway, so I go sort of nose up the driveway, go up on ramps as well, so I get the front really high, and it seems to bleed fine. But I just need to get it good enough that I can drive outside, turn around and get it on the ramps. So I'm not expecting this to be perfect. I want to just get it so I can drive it out and get it up on the driveway. People might say this is the wrong way, but it's always done me right doing it this way. Just make sure you get the the front as high as you can. So I just keep pouring it in. You should just keep seeing bubbles coming out. It's been going for a little while already. Not seeing any more bubbles coming out, it's just pure coolant coming out. So I think I've got enough in there now. We just have a little go again. There's some more air coming out. I think I'm not going to get that out until I get the car properly up in the air. So that will have to do for now, until I can get it out on the driveway. So I'm going to chuck the bleed screw back in. Without cross threading. You're going to want like a tray underneath, obviously, to catch the liquid. I've got some cloths and stuff here, but it'll still end up making its way through. It sounds like a Spectrum loaded in there. Anyway, I'm going to siphon this down so the float's at the right level. Okay, so it's just below maximum now. Obviously this isn't going to be quite right because the front's, I don't know, 12 inches off the ground or something, probably a bit more. So once I get it out, get it on the driveway, I'll bleed it again and then do the same again, get it down to what seems like the right level, Park it on a flat road then, leave it cool down for a few hours, come back out and then check the level again, see whether I need to add some or take some away, and then just keep an eye on the temperature. So it occurred to me the other day that I should replace my my coolant cap. So I've just got a new one of those. This is the best one I could get hold of, Febby Bilstein one. So we'll chuck that on.
Join me on the next episode where I take it all apart again to try and figure out why it's running like a bag shit. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.